Hey guys, Jim here and welcome to Budget RC. I'm sick of turning a million screws to take this body on and off. So today, we're going to fix that problem, so stick around. Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to start to take a little bit of a different turn with this vehicle. We've done a few upgrades so far that I think have really helped the performance of the vehicle. And for most of those upgrades, I've had to take this body off to get to the electronics. And to be honest, that sucks. The number of screws you need to remove in order to get this body off is somewhere around 11 billion.
$11 billion. That's not even a real number.
Yet.
I don't want to have to keep taking that many screws on and off. So what I decided to do was come up with a little bit different design so that we can quickly and easily lift that body right over, put it back, and have a nice sturdy mount. Here's how we're going to do it. So one thing I noticed when I was taking this body apart is that you can pivot the whole body on these front two mounting screws. So I thought that maybe there was a way that I could put some sort of a mount in the back to just secure the back and not have to deal with the screws every time. So what I did was to come up with a mount that goes between the shock towers in the back and has a corresponding mount right underneath this roof panel that holds a couple of magnets. So I'm going to take this roof panel off and I'll start showing you guys how I did this. Alright, so I've got this roof panel off just to show you a little bit better what I'm talking about. Originally this cage had a piece mounted here that connected down to the shock tower just for overall support. What I did was to remove that piece and I printed this flat piece here to replace it. Now if you don't have a 3D printer, this piece here can be made very easily out of a piece of 1/4 inch plastic, ABS or Kydex, whatever you have laying around. Now to correspond with that, what we also have is the piece right here that I printed that goes between the shock towers and has this little upright here. So what I did was to glue a couple of magnets down into this part, and there are corresponding magnets here on this piece that I just showed you that fit right onto these, and that gives it a nice secure lock. This piece is also something I designed and 3D printed, and I'll have both of these pieces available on my Thingiverse page that I'll link to below. Now for those of you who don't have a 3D printer, not all is lost. Like I just mentioned, that top piece you can make out of a piece of ABS or Kydex. This piece here you can too. Now the only thing is that you may not be able to use this magnet design because you really need to have something for the magnet to sit into so that things don't move around. But you can make this piece right here out of just a piece of Kydex and then use some more traditional body mounts that you attach underneath here that stick straight up and then can go through a hole that you put up here. And that way when this closes, you'll be able to just go ahead and stick a body clip to it and have the same result. Since I had these magnets around and since I have a 3D printer, I wanted to take a little bit more elegant approach. Now there are a couple things you need to watch out for with this. Usually the bottom of your battery tray would connect right down at the base of your shock tower. If you do that, obviously you're not going to be able to swing the body up and out of the way. But so far I haven't had any problems with the battery staying put without this bottom part attached. You do have to kind of guide this piece in under here in order to get it to go through. The next thing is I've got my LED lights disconnected. You can see the pieces right here. Now the front one, I think because of where it routes, would be fine. The rear one is going to need to be disconnected and reconnected every time you swing the body. Now, if I was going to keep these electronics longer, what I would do is just extend this wire and route it up to the front of the body so that it can hinge with the body. But in the issue of full disclosure, these electronics aren't going to be staying in here a whole lot longer. So for now, I'm just leaving them unplugged. Now in the same vein, one of my upcoming projects is going to involve relocating the battery to the front of the vehicle. I don't like the battery in the rear spot here. I want the weight up front for better crawling. And that was really the motivating factor in me wanting to come up with some sort of a different method to be able to access under the body. There's no way for me to keep the battery up here if I have to go through a million screws every time I want to get to the battery. So by having this sort of a method here, now it makes it much more practical for me to be able to relocate that battery to a more frontward location. That's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, so make sure you stick around for that. So just to show how nice and easy this works, piece of cake, and it's nice and strong. Now, if you're going to use this vehicle primarily as a basher, you may not get the durability you want out of this. Having that cage rigidly mounted to the body adds a lot of strength that helps everything stay very rigid during big crashes and high-speed impacts and so forth. So far, this thing feels really sturdy to me, and everything stays where it's supposed to. But in a hard crash, this will probably come apart, and that could ultimately lead to failure, especially up here where this hinge point is. For a crawler, the way I use it, I think this is going to be really, really reliable. It seems to stay put, like you're seeing. And in the last video where you saw this thing crawling up the coal pile, this was already installed, and I had a bunch of crashes that I didn't show on camera, and through all of those, this thing seemed to stay on just fine. So I think for a low-speed application like I'm using this in, this is going to be great. This is going to be even better once I relocate that battery. It's going to make it super simple to get to this. So that's pretty much it, guys. This was a really short video because there's not a whole lot of show and tell here. Most of my work was behind the scenes. Coming up with this piece here took me a lot of iterations, took me a lot of 3D printing to get this piece to fit as well and work as well as it does. But the end result I'm real happy with. And the great thing is, if you have a 3D printer, this isn't going to cost you hardly anything. The only expense that I really have in this are the couple of magnets. And I think those magnets were under 10 bucks for 20 of them. And I've been using them on projects for a while. I already had them around. So the amount of money invested in this week was only a couple of bucks. But the improvement in functionality is just tremendous. And I'm real happy with how it came out. The only other thing you need to come up with are a couple of longer screws for this rear spot right here. You can reuse the original screws up here, and you can reuse the screws that were used to mount this original piece to the shock tower. All you need are these screws here, which are a 2.5 millimeter. I think the length was somewhere around 16 or 20 millimeters. And that's it. So this was another cheap week. This only cost me $2, but I really can't stress how much more convenient this vehicle has become because of this. So anyway, guys, if you have a 3D printer, do this. It's a slam dunk. It'll make this vehicle so much more practical. If you don't have a 3D printer, I would still encourage you to make one of your own versions of this. If you want easier access to this vehicle, it's a cheap and practical solution to do it. So that's it, guys. This one was a quickie, but I hope you learned something, and I really hope some of you guys give this a try. If you do, post your comments below. Let me know how you like it. So we're going to have some more great changes coming up on this vehicle. I've kind of already let the cat out of the bag that we're relocating the battery. We're going to be doing more suspension mods, and we're updating these electronics. In the next few weeks, these upgrades are going to really start to take off. So make sure you subscribe below so that you'll know when I come out with my new upgrades. Thanks, guys.